I want to start off by telling a story about believing in yourself. 13 years ago, I was a kid in college, and I ended up dropping out of college because my instructors told me that I wouldn't be anything about this piece of paper. And this is not a story about that you should drop out of college, but it's more of a story that you should follow your gut feeling. Because after that, I started a production company with my fiance.
I know that's right.
But it wasn't all good. There was a lot of ups and downs. We got to shoot music videos, short films, weddings, anything that we could do to make money and not work a 9-to-5. But there was one person in particular. He was an influencer by the name of Ronnie Banks, and he was on Vine and YouTube at the time. And he presented me with the opportunity to shoot a video for Coca-Cola. Now, this was huge for me because as somebody who just dropped out of college, working with one of the world's biggest brands, that was a really big deal. But what it also did that day was it flipped a switch in my head where I said, this is going to be the future of how brands communicate their products and services with the masses. So we hyper-focus on those services. And again, a roller coaster of ups and downs. I had to go back to a 9-to-5 job, but I still believed in myself. I followed in traditional media. I started my own media company. We reached 1 billion people in 2 years organically with no paid marketing. And 3 years ago, I decided to continue chasing my dream as a filmmaker, entrepreneur, and digital media strategist, not knowing where it would take me, and I landed in Los Angeles, California. You see, in those 13 years, I planted seeds. Every month, we would drive up in my 98 Civic, broke down on the 5 getting here, but we linked up with a lot of different people, a lot of very unique individuals in different industries. And when I got here, all that time paid off because I believed in myself and I bet on myself. But again, a lot of ups and downs. When we got here, I wasn't a content creator. I wasn't the person in front of the camera. I was the guy behind the scenes, which a lot of you know this because I've worked with a lot of you around this room. And one day, Chrissy and a lot of you guys told me, Dontae, you should get in front of the camera because you have a very simplified way of explaining things, and all this knowledge that you've gained about filmmaking, building a brand on social media. Mind you, I had helped a lot of entrepreneurs and a lot of creators get to hundreds of thousands, millions of followers, make a lot of money. So I said, you know what? I'm gonna do that and make sure that I upload one piece of content every single day that's valuable for people. And that paid off. And when I think about that version of Dontae 13 years ago, you know, betting on yourself is something that not a lot of people will do. And when I look around this room, a lot of us have made that leap of faith. We are all on social media. We are all putting ourselves in front of a camera. And it's not an easy job. So today, this event, what is this really about? This is about highlighting everybody that's in this room. If you look around, we are all amazing, creative, talented individuals that have bet on ourselves and continue to believe in what we believe we want to do in this world. We want to make an impact. Instead of hosting an event in LA where everyone goes around, they're just clicked up, gonna get drunk and whatever, I wanted to put together something intimate where you can meet people. We can have a panel discussion. People can get game. So right now, we're about to have a panel discussion. And the first person that I want to introduce to the stage, she is the senior multicultural influencer marketing manager for Prime Video and Amazon Studios. I want to bring my homie to the stage, Jasmine Chase.
Yo, what on they be calling me Strider. I mean, yo,
Hey, man.
Man, this man fly like a bird.
Hey,
Spin on the first, he the third. Solid, I'm keeping my way.
Jasmine, how you feeling?
I'm good. Too many spicy margaritas, but I'm good.
I feel you. I'm there with you right now. Next up, I want to introduce to the stage my homie. He's a content creator, but his story is very unique, much like us. He took the leap of faith a few years ago, quit his 9-to-5 job to follow his dreams, and took a career in content creation, entrepreneurship. I want to introduce to the stage my homie, Dayo, Okuboyejo. Hey. How you feeling, Dayo?
I'm feeling great. I'm happy to be here in the presence of all of you guys and drop some game.
Next up, I want to introduce to the stage my homie. He is a host, DJ, entrepreneur, and designer, and one of the rare few that is a LA native, Mando Fresko.
Can't stop addicted to the shindig. Shout out, listen, some to the wind. Choose not to like a limitation.
How's it going? Good?
I just heard a one woo over here. How's everybody doing? Hi, I love that. I love that.
Jasmine, this question's for you. What is it like working in influencer marketing? Because you've been there since I feel like the inception of influencer marketing.
So I've been in this space since 2015 when mommy bloggers was popping. So for me, it's been a great experience to see the industry evolve. I think that I got into the space when it wasn't a lot of resources on how to do influencer marketing. So I had to learn a lot about like how to work with creators, what do they like, how to come up with a campaign brief, how to come up with deliverables, how do we measure success on the brand side? I think we all still struggle with that. So it's been an amazing experience to watch this industry evolve and being like a key player in the space, just because I've been in it for so long. To see different platforms from YouTube to bloggers to Instagram to TikTok to Snapchat, and just see how all those platforms kind of work with you to create unique content. It's been an interesting experience.
I'm already knowing. Mando, you kind of have a similar experience too, being in influencer marketing, creative, but you come from a traditional media standpoint. So how was that transition for you going from MTV, building your own production company, and developing your personal brand?
Yeah, so to answer your question, my background's in radio and television. I pretty much have adapted everything that I learned working for Viacom, for MTV. I was on Power 106 here in Los Angeles for 15 years. And I started when I was 18 years old on the radio. I always say, I don't know what they were thinking, trusting an 18-year-old live on the radio every day, but they did. And, I think that's why I'm so into high production value today, because that's something that traditional media has, right? It's like the lighting got to be right, and it has to be as HD as possible. But at the same time now, I'm sure we'll get into it, it's not all about that now. But that's something that I'm like an HD geek, right? Like, I got to get the sound right, got to get the audio, got to get the lighting, everything right. But anyway, that's where my background is. Honestly, I'll end it with this for now, is when I was doing radio, the company that I worked for was making a lot of money from things that I was doing, and I was getting paid very little. And I thought, you know what? I could make, so there was, I used to have a lot of radio commercials, and one of the commercials I would do is would bring in $1 million to the radio station. And I'm like, you know what? And I would get paid a couple $100. And I thought, I'm the one making that happen. I can bet on myself and get that amount. And here we are.
I respect that. Betting on yourself is not easy, like I was just saying, right? And seeing it through, especially when you feel like the little guy. But if you know your value and you trust your gut and you go with that, it really pays off. For you, you were saying that your story transitioning from traditional media into content creation. It reminds me of Dayo a little bit, because Dayo is somebody who comes from 9 to 5, corporate America, and here comes the pandemic. And now you bet on yourself. So what was that journey like for you, Dayo, when you said, you know what, I'm going to focus full time on social media and I'm going to leave this job?
Yeah, so for me, I started, as you know, content creation by accident. Literally, it was right in the beginning of COVID. I just moved all the way to Philadelphia, so it was my first apartment. And I decided, why not actually vlog my day-to-day life? I had a productive lifestyle when I was waking up at 5 a.m. And, I was one of the guys that was making their bed on that they now making parodies of. But yeah, so long story short, I just decided to set up my camera and start creating content. And I did it out of the love of just wanting to post online every single day. So I showed up online every single day. And then from there, I developed a personal brand where I just started showcasing different aspects of my life. So transitioning from that 9 to 5 to that, to being a content creator has definitely been.
It's interesting because Jasmine works with a lot of creators, where Mando and Dayo and myself, we work with a lot of brands. So I'm curious, Jasmine, when it comes to working with content creators, how do you find people that are the right fit for brands? What is that process like? Because I feel like everybody in this room is usually on the other side of an email waiting to be sent to them.
So for me, I think because I've been in it for so long, it's like my job to know who is hot, right? Who is creating the content that really resonates with the brand. So I'm always have my like ear to the streets to see like who is the person that specializes in sports or specializes in entertainment or specializes in whatever their niche is. I think that's like a part of the job. But also for me, I think that it's so many creators. So it's really hard. It's like very saturated. But I think for me, it's like a lot of times we do work with agencies, just to be honest, and they do serve a lot of influencers up to us. But I love the piece of it to like build that natural relationship with creators. Dontae would tell you, I text him all the time, be like, hey, you want to go to the Clippers game? Or hey, we got a premiere. I like that one-on-one connection because I will be honest and fully transparent. I hate working with managers. I hate working with reps. Like, I'm just going to be real. But I will do the business with them, like contracting, payment, all of that. But I love having the one-on-one connection where I can text you the opportunity. We can talk about like the creative and all of that. And then you can like throw it off to your management. So that's kind of how I like to work. I'm just really about relationship building because I think that that's what the influencer space is really about.
I really appreciate that. It's refreshing because, you talk to a lot of agencies and they just don't get it.
Yo, it's the worst. Like, they drop the ball, they don't read the brief, so then we mad at you, and you don't even know why we mad at you, and we think you're a horrible creator, and you're not. I just think a lot of times they facilitate the communication. And I've had agencies, to be honest, I have a blacklist. I will cut the agency off, and it's not even personal for the creator. It's just that, like, we have opportunities all the time that's not paid, right? But we're trying to build that relationship, and the next time we be like, yo, this person really, went over and beyond, and we want to work with them. So it's like, don't let your management get in the way of just like an organic opportunity that could build the relationship. Because I've had like a campaign where we were really trying to give people their flowers. Like, we went out there our way to be like, yo, we wanted people to feel seen. And I had a management company be like, yo, we only taking paid ops right now. And I think that's just such a disadvantage to the creator because you might have wanted that, right? You might want to be like, yo, I want Prime Video to see me and recognize what I'm doing. And so for me, like, that was just like, it put a bad taste in my mouth. So I haven't worked with the agency since.
Can I add to what you just said, Jazz? I think when it comes to the paid, non-paid opportunities, there are many people, none in here, I'm sure, that look at an opportunity with a dollar sign, and it's not always about a dollar sign. Like, I'm nearly 20 years in the game now, and I still do things for free at times because not every we have to really be aware of that. I feel like there are, especially people that are just starting out, sometimes think that they have to have a dollar sign behind that opportunity. I'll just share that my biggest brand deal that has ever happened for our production company, Hubwave Media, came from just showing up and shaking hands and hanging out just like this. And brands, that, appreciate that. It's not just, I'm gonna show up when you pay me. Show up to build relationships. It sounds simple, but a lot of people, forget about that.
I think for me, I think a lot of times people think of it as transactional, where people forget that we have goals. Like, we're trying to hit goals and we have limited budget. Like, a lot of times people are like, oh, Amazon, they got the bag. But sometimes for that campaign, the bag is not that big. We're trying to stretch our dollars. So I think sometimes people aren't mindful of that, especially if you work with like major management companies who are like more like nickel and dime, everything they want to put a dollar sign against. And for us, it's like, I get it, but it really affects like the ROI sometimes, So I think it's just something to be mindful of like, how is my like content performing? Like, am I understanding the brand goals? Like, am I working with them to actually meet these goals? Because I think a lot of times that's not considered, just coming from the brand side. And I do know it's some brands that take advantage, and I am aware of that too. But I think for us, we're always trying to like look at our ROI. We have metrics, we have budget, and we're trying to really work with as many creators as possible. But it's still the wild, wild west. So if someone's trying to charge like 50 grand for one post, it's like, we can't really do that, So.
Yeah, I think I can jump in on that and respond to what you were saying. I think as a creator, it's really important to take advantage of those opportunities where it's either a lower budget or it's no budget at all and capitalize on it. Because for me, one of my biggest brand partners right now is actually a brand that I worked with on so much lower than I would usually accept. But because of how much I enjoyed the brand, because of how much I love the brand, I was able to build that personal relationship. And now it's my biggest brand deal this year. So I think, thank you. So it's really important to just plant those seeds, harvest those relationships with those brand partners and managers, et cetera, to see what it turns out to later on.
I'm glad I'm not alone.
Yeah.
Because I used to think it was just me, where I was like, you know what, I'm gonna build relationships, I'm gonna eat shit, I'm not gonna get paid for this campaign, and I'm just gonna go ahead and see what happens. But it's true, right? Like, if people have good intentions, it will pay off in the long run. And I think one of the brands in this room right now, CapCut, is one of those people, because I've supported CapCut for a very long time. And to see our relationship blossom and to see them support the vision of everything that we're doing right now, like, it means a lot, because we wouldn't be able to put this together without their help and support. And I feel like a lot of creators in this room utilize CapCut. What you guys were all saying about building relationships with brands is very important. Dayo, I have a question for you. When it comes to selecting brands, the bag could be good, but the opportunity may not be good. How do you go about choosing in between how you're going to use a brand or work with a brand does it align with your vision and what you're doing with your personal brand?
Yeah, that's a great question. I feel like, especially nowadays, I'm very selective with the brands that I work with. And I think the key identifier for me is, would I post this for free? Would I work with this brand for free? Would I promote this product or this service for free? If not, then it's probably something I don't want to align with, just because a lot of times you can accept a huge paying brand deal, but because of it, it is now ruining the integrity of your brand, your personal brand. I mean, how can you preach one thing and then you're promoting something that's on the complete opposite end of the spectrum? I feel like that's been my number one key identifier is, do I really enjoy this brand? Do I connect with this brand? Does my audience actually gain valuable insight from learning about this product or this service? And from there, then we get into negotiation, talk about the bag.
And Mando, how about you? How do you go about finding brands to work with? Because I know you've been doing this for a long time, many, many years, and you've shaken a lot of hands, but are you in a position where you're still doing cold outreach to brands?
Yeah, so I mean, we have initially, right, it was just me. And I was doing every call, every email. Now, in 2016, we launched a media production company, and we have a full team now. We have a sales team, we have a marketing team, but I'm always connected to all of that. I'm pretty much like on every email and hop on almost every call. I think for us, it's the way that we connect is just pretty old fashioned, man. And the best way is cold calls sometimes. So we live in a space now where we just want to text people, or we just want, like, no contact, the better, right? But it's even better when you can pick up the phone and call somebody that you connect. Like today, we connect with a few people, follow up, right? We come to events, we meet people online. Yo, DM me your contact when you get a minute. We get that contact, and maybe half of the time, that call, that text, that email never goes out, right? And I think that it's important to connect and exchange information, but it's even more important to follow up.
Jasmine, I'm sure you get a lot of those cold DMs, emails. What are some of those ones that really stand out to you, especially people that you've never met before?
I think for me, it's a lot of times when people reach out to me, and they might even send a concept of I really love Prime Video, or I really love Amazon. Harlem is my favorite show. I wanted to create this content. And a lot of times I'm like, oh, that's super dope. You took the initiative, you had a point of view, and I'm like, oh, that's great. We can work with that. I think for me, I'm just always looking for who resonates with the content, because I'm very thoughtful about what I'm working on, and I'm also considerate of the creator too, because I don't ever want someone to work on something that doesn't resonate with their audience or is not true to their brand. So I'm really careful and thoughtful about who I select and who gets to work on certain things. And even if someone's like, yo, I love this show, then I'll give it a chance and be like, yo, that's gonna be super dope. So I just try to kind of look at creators' content and see how well it meshes with what we have going on, or even if they're just true fans of the brand, I think goes a long way. Because a lot of times I think people will just take the check, like you were saying, where it's not going to resonate with your audience. It's not going to do well. It's not going to do well for you or for us. So I think it merely makes sense to like for us to connect and align on a vision. And so for me, I really try to look for those creators just to really resonate with either the title. So I'm a title marketer. So everything that I touch has to do with something that's launching on Prime Video across film or series. So I've launched like Air, Harlem, Swarm, I'm a Virgo. I'm trying to think of it. So it's Little Baby documentary. If you think about it, if it's multicultural, I probably touched it. So for me, I'm just always looking, for like true fans, people who content, really resonates with what we're trying to achieve.
That's pretty cool. I want to hop in here and ask you. So, considering that you said that you're scouting creators, I think as a creator, it's pretty cool to know what is your process like finding creators. Are you looking on the sounds, the audios? Are you looking at the hashtags? I think it's really valuable for like creators to know how to position themselves in front of brands.
Yeah, I get a little dirty. I like the guerrilla style. So I'm in there, like I'm on hashtags. Yeah. I'm looking at like, I guess Mary J. Blige or Beyonce. Like when we were doing Swarm, I was looking for like people who were diehard Beyonce fans just because Swarm was like poking fun at them. And like I really wanted to work with people who like would go hard for Beyonce, and so they want to like be a part of it. So I would like go on TikTok and just look to see who's making Beyonce content and the type of Beyonce content they're making, and to be like, oh, I think that they could work for what we're trying to do. So for me, I have a lot of different little tactics that I do, but I am in there. I'm on the social handles. I'm looking at the content. I like someone that like is already promoting Prime Video or promoting something that I could kind of already see them into the content that I'm trying to produce. So it makes it a little bit easier. So I tell people, like content creators that reach out to me all the time, like if you have that dream list of brands you want to work with, start to make that content, start to get on their radar, because you got people like me that's looking and want to connect with people that already is doing the work or love the brand. So for me, I have different little tactics, but a lot of it is hashtag. I also do Google search, like top Black creators for da-da-da-da-da. I do that too. Yeah. We get a lot of recommendations. I get a lot of cold emails, so I do that too. I get rosters, and I'm like, I can't look through all this, but yeah. And then we do a lot of events where I just meet people, like, and again, like I told you, I keep my finger on the pulse, so I'm always looking to see who's doing what. And so if I come to an event like this, I'm like, oh, that's somebody I've been wanting to contact, like be in connection with. So I like reach like, yo, I've been wanting to work with you. So I do a lot of that too. So I'm like all around. Yeah.
So hashtags aren't dead, y'all. You can throw the 30 under your photos. It's gonna be all right.
I heard it was dead though, but I still use them.
Hashtags aren't dead, Dayo. I use hashtag shout on iPhone, and I was able to work with a really big company because of that, and they found me.
Woo! Let's go. Yeah.
I want to talk about the importance of reinventing yourself, because as a content creator, I feel like we could get stuck in our heads about the content we push out. So for Mando, what does that look like for you? Because developing your personal brand, building these relationships in media, being a DJ, that's juggling a lot of things. How do you find new inspiration for content? And then like, how do you figure out that that's true to yourself?
I mean, the last thing you just said is right on the money. You have to always stay true to yourself, right? So like, as you grow, your content has to grow with you, and as the platforms grow and change, which is every couple weeks, there's a new trend, there's a new trend video, there's a new trend sound, and you don't have to, I don't think, jump on every trend, but you have to hop on anything that makes sense for you and then make it your own, right? That's the best way to pretty much do anything when it comes to creating content, is stay true to yourself. Because like Jazz was saying, people, brands, they detect when something's fake, right? And I think that's why it's important to always, it sounds cheesy as hell, but like staying true to who you are, creating content true to what you like. If you like sneakers, create content about sneakers. If you like for me, I love sports. I love soccer or football. And for those that know, they know. And, we create a lot of content about that, right? We create a lot of content about, soccer, football. We create a lot of content about sneakers, about culture. We create a lot of content about things that I enjoy. And from there, brands like Jasmine will see, oh, this guy's doing a lot of cool things with this sport or this kind of content. And honestly, I've always stayed true to myself. And every piece of brand with content or brand partnerships that we do, it's always organic. You know, you never want to do something that doesn't fit. Also, you know, we talked about like the importance of money. Everybody loves money in here. But if it's like a plumbing company coming to me, I'm like, yo, I don't, it's not a really good fit. Because then the people that follow you are also going to look at that content and be like, well, this is cheesy. Like now he's just doing stuff for the bag.
That's a fact. Outside of branded content, for your personal content, Mando, I saw you came in here, you had a full production squad. A lot of us are like the iPhone thing. Is that still a thing for you where, you know, finding content and creating it by yourself? How do you balance having your team involved and just doing stuff for you?
You know, I think about 80% of the stuff that I'm doing, to be honest, is with my team. But it didn't start like that. Right? And now a lot of people may think, oh, how am I going to pop off or create high production value content if I don't have like a full-time videographer or a photographer or something like that? Honestly, like, again, going back to organic content and being true to yourself, right? Like now and I'm being fully transparent here. What we're doing now is we have full-on like brainstorms and meetings we have to start creating content that is just on the iPhone, because on TikToks, people love that organic iPhone vibe. As soon as you see something that is like high production value on your TikTok feed, you're like, nah, you know, and that's a turnoff. So like, again, as long as you're aware, right? Like study this shit. If you really want to dedicate yourself to become a full-time creator, become a fucking nerd of this, because study it. Like we have a big board in our office, and our stuff looks like we're solving, you know, the Pythagorean theorem back there, and it's just, you know, talking about, you know, how, like, okay, this works on the algorithm, or this is what people like, or this, you know, hiding hashtags or whatever. Like we study it. To answer that question, it depends. Like, you know, today we're doing some high quality production stuff. On Saturday, we're gonna have a foundation called the Fresko Foundation, and we're doing we're donating toys to my community. I grew up here in the city called Southgate, and we're gifting toys to like 80 to 100 families in my hometown. So we're not taking any, you know, cameras or anything like that. It's just me and maybe my iPhone, right? Because that is going to look staged. You got to feel the room, right? Yeah. And every piece of content and event that you end up, you know, grabbing content for.
Dayo, how do you feel about that? Because you're a creator who's like, I film everything by myself. And I know you stay locked in.
Locked in. I've been locked in the past couple weeks.
Whether it's brand work or you're working for yourself, do you prefer to shoot on a professional camera or an iPhone?
So you know what? I feel like it's interesting because there was actually that time where I was starting to use my camera a whole lot more, and I naturally progressed right back to iPhone. And I feel like the reason why is because it feels so much more authentic. When you're using an iPhone, it just feels like you're picking it up and you're setting up you're setting it up for your content. You're creating it organically. Versus with the camera, it can have a unorganic feel, which, as we know, people usually try and swipe away from. But I think that there's like really beauty in both of them. I mean, if you're trying to create something cinematic, there's times where I create a nice cinematic video, and that's going to be with my camera, and it resonates a whole lot nicer with my audience. And there's going to be times where I do a day in the life, and it has a lot of transitions in it. I'm going to do it with my iPhone because obviously I'm not doing flip transitions with the camera all day long, naturally and organically. So I think really whatever you feel like is most comfortable for you, stick with it. And it's really all about what you teach your audience to expect from you as well. I tell my audience to expect iPhone videos, so that's what they expect. You teach them to expect high quality camera videos, and that's what they're going to expect.
We're going to switch gears out of the land of content creation. I love those insights, though, because you're right. TikTok did do something strange to social media. It disrupted content consumption. It went from, I need everything to be super polished. I need all my entire feed to be this beautifully curated thing to, you know what, it's okay to record on a front-facing camera, keeping it super raw, and I love that for us because it makes our job easier. And we all have these phones in our back pockets, which is the greatest thing because we don't have to think about having this extremely heavy camera that's going along with us. What are some of the things that you would like to see brands do differently when working with content creators?
Let me think about it. Concepts. I don't want to do another concept a day in my life. Please, we got to reinvent the concept process. I feel like the concepting process is just too. Oh, Jazz is about to get me. I don't know, that concepting process, when I tell you, there's times where I will spend I just had to do wow, I'm not gonna speak on the brand, but you might be familiar with them, I don't know. But I just had to do a concepting process where it was like literally 2.5 pages long. And I felt like it was quite extended. It was a little bit more extended than it needs to be just because obviously if you chose a creator, you should trust them. Because you saw their vision, you saw what they're able to bring, and usually there's an intro call. So I think maybe switching a lot of these on paper things to a call can be a lot quicker. It's almost like when, in corporate America, when it's like, this could have been an email. Why are we on it? So type of thing. But yeah, I think I'm gonna start with that. I'll segue into there with that.
We work so hard on those campaign briefs. You better appreciate
I know, we better get that
brief.
concept there. Yeah,
But I will say that how I approach things is like, yes, I have a campaign brief because I want to outline what we're trying to achieve, but I like it to be more of a collaborative experience, right? Because you know your audience, right? You know what resonates with them. And so I want to just have this as a guide. And then two, to make sure you get the tags right. Because a lot of times y'all don't be tagging right. You know how many times it's like Amazon, and I'm like, but we're Prime Video. Amazon Prime, but we're Prime Video. So for me, I would love for you to read it so you can guide your content, but I understand that it's a lot, Right. So, but I do think that it could be a more collaborative process because a lot of times we're looking at, we're crossing our T's and dotting our I's, right? We're like, okay, we want this campaign. We came up with all this strategy. So we want somebody to lean into what we've came up with, but also I think it's meet us in the middle and be like, hey, I think this is dope, but this will really resonate with my audience a little bit more. And I think that be, empowered to say that because I think a lot of these brands, to be really honest with y'all, they don't know. That's just to be honest. They don't know. They think they know. For me, I've had the opportunity to be in the game for so long that I have a little bit of an understanding, but a lot of times, they don't know. So be, speak up and be like, hey, what I've been noticing on my channel is this, and I think this would be a better approach to this campaign. And I think that they'll be open to it, opposed to being like, hey, no, this is what we want. Because I think it is some brands that's like that, but I do think that they will be more receptive because a lot of times it's we in a room, we trying to get things out the door, So a lot of times we just okay, this is the strategy that we think, but we're leaning on you for your expertise, So I think it's just being okay, yo, I heard you. I think we can do this, but I also want to add my razzle dazzle here, Yeah.
I like that. And I've done that a few times. And just to throw so much game, a few ways that I've done that before to get brands to align with what you're trying to do is really to have a proof of concept. So whether that be you created a video style that's just like it, show them all those videos that are just like it. This is what I've done, and you can see that the audience reacted this way. Here's how we can do this for our campaign. And a lot of times they're like, wait, this is actually a really good idea. And from there, they start using it for their future campaigns. They really enjoy your partnership, and that builds longevity within that personal relationship with the brand.
How about you, Mando? What are some things that you would like to see brands do differently?
So for those that don't know, a brief, right? It's where everything that the brand wants you to do, whether are tags or hashtags, what colors to use, what not to say, things like that. It's like a pamphlet. It's like a deck that is given to you. Now, for the most part, don't mind that because I think it's helpful. What I struggle with is when brands don't know what they want, right? And they're like, oh, we want something like this, and then you give them something like this, and then no, that's not what we want.
Who's had that experience before?
Yeah.
Please put it up.
So that's like a creator's nightmare, right? When because at that point you're just working, and you're maybe 2 weeks in, going back and forth, sometimes a month, and the brand's like, true story. I had a big Fortune 500 company we were doing something with, and they said, we love this. Send us some examples. some mock-ups. Perfect. We sent over a mock-up of what, our logos would look like with, the content that we would create. So we sent the color variations, and they're like, I don't know, try something else. So I was like losing sleep, Dontae. I was like overnights just trying different colors and that hues. I pretty much use every color in the content, in the rainbow. And you know what? They came back when I sent them a black and white version of it. They said, that one. I lost my damn mind.
It be like that sometimes.
But like I think that feedback, if there's any aside from jazz, brands, if you're a little more just sure or decisive or just knowing, tell the creator what you would like. Like for me, if they would have said, let's just stick to a black and white concept, that would have saved me days of work.
But I would say that's why the brief matters, right? Because at least a brand.
Why are you pointing at him like that, though?
Oh, because he had a problem with the brief. But I'm gonna tell him.
I have no problems with the brief.
But I'm gonna
the brief. It's a concept.
I mean, the concept, yes. But I will say the brief helps guide the brand's thinking, right? Because if you just be like, a lot of times I've seen brands be like, I don't know, whatever. But then they don't like what you give them. You know what I mean? So it's like, no, have a point of view. Like, write it down on paper so then at least you can align on strategy. And I think a lot of times they skip over that part and be like, oh, we're just gonna lean on the creator. But then they're not happy because they, in their mind, know what they want. So it can save a lot of the back and forth.
Jasmine, you got a lot to say about this topic, so I'm curious. What are some things that you would like to see creators do differently?
Oh, that's a good one.
It's okay. I know you got a room full of them, but don't feel, pressure.
No. I think one thing is to be more involved with your management teams. Like, know what opportunities, like ask them to like bring you every opportunity. And then you can be like, yo, the ones that I'm not gonna do, like don't bring them to me. But at least so you can evaluate if this opportunity is for you. Because I know that a lot of times brands or creators or the management is like, oh, we're past, we don't want to do that. But they never even brought the opportunity to you. So I would say just be more involved with your management or your reps to just know what is being brought to the table. Because I know a lot of times you're not a part of the conversation, which could be a pain point for us, I would say too, I just don't like sometimes, I'm coming to you because I want what you offer, right? Like I want your creativity, I want what you bring to the table. So a lot of times don't be afraid to bring it, you know what I mean? I think a lot of times people hold back because they're like, well, this is what the brand asked me. And it's like, yeah, this is what we asked, but it's some flexibility there. So bring you, because this is what I want to invest in is you. And then might be a little pet peeve of mine, but I just do not understand why you have to limit my organic uses. I really don't understand that. Organically, we just want to reshare and post it to our channels. But if we have millions of followers, that's just exposure for you. So I really don't understand why I get the limit to 60 days, 30 days, 15 days. I don't understand that at all. But I get it. It's something else to charge us for. I get it from that standpoint. But it's a win-win. Or, and you guys might beat me up for this, charging me for boosting. Why would you charge me for boosting your content? Organically. Yeah, but I'm just saying, I get it. It's another way to make money. But I'm just saying,
yeah.
Or when it's something crazy, when it's 20,000 to be oh, I just want to boost it for 30 days. It's
oh, no, that's insane.
But let's be fair about it. Yeah. So I think, go ahead.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
Go ahead.
I was going to say, I can actually answer that question when you say, why do you charge for boosting? So I've actually sometimes seen negative effects on my content based off of boostings. There was a time that I worked for a brand that was audio, and it was a very techie video, and that was completely outside of the type of content that I create, and they boosted it. And they boosted it pretty heavily to the point where a lot of my incoming followers, were tech creators. So because of that, all of my new videos were getting pushed to them, and as a result of it getting pushed to them, and those videos not being a tech video, it wasn't performing. So there are times where your engagement can fall off because it's pushing it to that initial group, then trying to find lookalikes from it.
Yeah, that makes sense. But no, that's just one of my things where it's why is it such a crazy fee to boost? But I get it.
I'm with you on organic though. On organic, come on, be a little bit lenient.
Yeah, organic is yo, I'm just trying to make the content stretch for us a little bit, But that's just it. But I think for me, I don't really have like, well, if I think about it, I probably have a lot of pain points. But at the moment, I don't.
This was a very healthy discussion. Now I want to turn the microphone over to you guys. Is there anybody in the room that has any questions for us?
Thanks so much, Dontae. My question is actually for Mando, because you're in radio. I'm in radio as well. I just passed my 1.5 years in radio.
Nice, congratulations.
So when you go about working with brands, I know from a radio standpoint, it's really hard with salespeople. And how do you go about, I'm just going to push sales aside and go and do this on my own, without having that fear of okay, I'm going to get pushback from this?
Yeah, you're talking about fear, you're going to get pushback from a brand or fear from within your...
From within the actual company.
You know what? Fuck them. Honestly, when I first started, I would hang out, live nearly in the sales department, right? I was in programming, I was on air, but I would spend a lot of the time in the sales department, shaking hands, kissing babies, always saying hello to everybody. I would always pretty much make that eye contact, really hang out with somebody, with Debbie over at sales, hey, Debbie, how are the kids? And I started to realize how they were selling, and how they were selling is they would create decks and they would make cold calls and they would go to events and they would, just start to make that connection. And honestly, you said fear in there. That's the worst thing that you can do or think when it comes to creating content or making a sales pitch, right? Or even thinking about making money. Fear of making money don't go hand in hand ever. And I will say this, a lot of us may be a little shy or introverted. Even if we do radio or TV or whatever, content creation, we're not always the extroverted type. I'm not extroverted, believe it or not. And I used to be really shy when I started, and I was like, oh, I don't want to go say hi to this person, or throw that out the door. Throw that out the door, because being scared, being shy, being timid, being introverted is not going to get you paid. Being scared is not going to get you paid. Being too cool for school is not going to get you paid. So make the connection as much as you can. Today, make some, exchange some info. And what we do is we always follow up. And when it came to sales, I was doing overnights for a long time. Overnights, you're from midnight to 5 a.m. on the radio. And when I was doing overnights, I had more radio commercials than Big Boy, because I was living in the city. I was hanging out with Debbie. You know what I'm saying? This, by the way, your name's not Debbie, right, sir? And I was hanging out with all the sales team and just learning that. And because I learned that, not just the programming side, I learned the sales side, the marketing side. That's how I was able to build my media production company, my team, and I was able to. So don't just learn on the programming side. You got that. That's done. You've been doing it already. Just learn. Be multifaceted in that sense.
Thanks.
Yeah, of course.
This goes on a topic about accepting a budget that is below what we would normally take, or making the relationships. And as Jasmine, you said that brands take advantage. Boy, do they take advantage. But that's another point. Okay. How do you know when to actually stop from doing things from on a budget standpoint that's not sufficient for you? Because as you know, it's inflation. Stuff is expensive. So how would you, and anyone, from everybody, how would you actually, I guess, know how to be all right, that's enough. I love y'all, but I need some monies. How would you do that?
I think I can step in here, and I would say, as someone who has accepted deals that were below their rate at some times, I think it's just important to measure your bandwidth. Do you have the bandwidth to do it? And if you don't, then definitely don't accept it. But if you do, let them know, hey, Also, I just wanted to let you know that this is a little bit lower than what I usually take because of I respect our relationship. I'd love to continue this partnership and work again, but I just would love for you to keep that in mind. And the next time, that you're sending over offers, I've done that before, and I've actually had like a higher amount pitched, or they just will hold off until they have that budget. But yeah, really measure your bandwidth, and from there determine if it makes sense for you to take it or not, because sometimes accepting it also encourages them to keep doing it. And when you don't accept it, then they may be like, you know what, like, dang, we missed out by having her on this campaign. Let's make sure we're coming at her correctly the next time. And that may be what happens.
I would say rates in the influencer space is the wild, wild west. Like, I feel like it hasn't been a rate card. So people are like, yo, 50,000, 30,000, like with no rhyme or reason. And brands have paid it. So a lot of times creators like, oh, this is my threshold. Like, this is what I get paid. And it's like, but when we're looking at like engagement rate, we're looking at the amount of followers, we're looking at the quality of the content. A lot of times, like, what I kind of look at my like North Star is like, I've heard about this, like, I guess this equation where it's like for every 10,000 followers, it's $100, right? So I use that as a base to be like, okay, per post, whether, because even if you base it off your like Instagram story, it'll be half of that. It's some math that goes into it. But what I do is like use that as a base, but then try to factor in your time. What am I asking for? Am I asking for 6 posts? Like, all of that stuff is like what I'm taking into consideration. So a lot of times I'm like, these are my deliverables. You tell me the price. And then a lot of times I'll come back and be like, if I can't meet that price, this is where I can meet you at. But I think for you is like just being like, hey, telling the brand straight up, like, hey, this is what it cost me to create this content. Like, this is what I feel like it's worth, and this is why it's worth. Like, so then they can see that rationale, because I think a lot of times they don't have any insight, and they're always thinking about their bottom line, right? Their ROI. So I think it's okay to like, be like, hey, I got to hire a videographer, or I have to like spend 6 hours doing this, or whatever it might be. But just basically stating your case, I think would help, kind of like help them meet you in the middle where you would like to be. And then even say like, yo, it's inflation, the cost of the materials to make this went up, like whatever it is, I think it's okay to say that to them and push back. But I think a lot of times we do get comfortable being like, oh, we got this for $5K last time, like, and it's my price, so I do be like, this is my price and I'm locked in. But I do think it's always, negotiations. It's always a conversation.
Does insight still matter? Because a lot of times I do go above and beyond. I go above whatever is required. So it's like, do insights still matter? Because the algorithm, as they said, like sometimes the boosting and everything, it can mess up. Like, does that still matter? Or do you guys actually see what the content creator does?
Yeah, so for us, it does. Like, we have a tool that we, like, every campaign we do, we add all of the creators to that campaign. And so I can see all the results. And so for us, I don't know about other brands, but we monitor our campaigns off of earned media value. So for example, like say you do an in-feed post, I can see, and don't get me wrong, earned media value, impressions, they're all like fluff numbers at the end of the day, but I can see like what that in-feed post, garnered, right? So it could be like, I might have paid you, whatever, 10 grand for 3 posts, and I could see that your in-feed post might have got $500, and I can actually see that. So a lot of times we are looking at like, a certain amount times our ROI. We spent this amount, we want to see this amount in return. So it is some science to it for us. So a lot of times, like, we do have to evaluate like, oh, did this creator really work for us, or if they didn't. So it is considered.
I'd like to just briefly address your first question. And, when it comes to working with brands, sometimes if the check isn't as big, this business is based on perception as well. So like if a brand that's a big brand doesn't have a big paycheck, which often the big brands are the ones that don't have the big paycheck. What I personally do is I'll take a gig that maybe doesn't have a big budget. Let's say Nike. We're just talking for conversational purposes here. And, this is Chase Bank, right? It's like, hey, Mando, we want to work with you, but we only have this amount. And it's not our standard rate, we'll take it. Because then we can say, we just worked with Nike, we just worked with Chase, then Amazon's gonna look at that and be like, wow, he's working with a lot of big brands. They don't know how much I got paid for that. Jazz got you, is what I'm saying. She'll sign the checks.
y'all was talking about brands and what they could do better. For me, I feel like the net 30, net 60 could be a little inconvenient to the creator. You know, like I know y'all really up there, like y'all doing y'all thing. Have y'all been able to negotiate that? And you know, what's y'all thoughts on that?
I'm comfortable to hop in here because I heard there was a drink called Net 60, and I said I don't want no parts of it. But I can hop in this and basically just say I feel like you can definitely negotiate those net terms. It really depends on the brand. If you're working with brand direct, you can definitely negotiate it. If you're working with an agency, it's a little bit harder because until they get paid, will you get paid? Sometimes the agency gets paid in advance though, so really there's a lot of caveats to that. But I will say there has been times where, like, let's say for example, if it's a rush timeline or if it's I'm accepting it at a lower rate, I will say, hey, but this is one of my non-negotiables. I just need us to be at net 15. I'll throw in a net 15. Sometimes I'll say I need a net 7. Give me that next. I need it by the end of the week. Just like that check. Yeah, I need it by the end of the week. So, you know, they won't always meet you at it, but you'll realize that there is some flexibility. And there's flexibility within every term on that contract. Nothing is set in stone. So advocate for what you feel like you deserve and see where they can meet you.
Okay. Being a one-person show, like, it's really hard to manage all of the platforms. Like, TikTok requires different things, YouTube, blah, 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 blah. So how do you know when it's time to, like, start building a team? And then also, like, when you are building your team, how are, like, you creating community inside of that, like, still with your audience? Because I know, like, when you have a team, like you were saying before, it can be a little bit detachment. So, like, how do you know when it's time, like, so you can manage all the different things?
Every time Dayo and I link up, we always have this conversation because my mind is like, Dayo, I got a lot on my plate. I need some help. I'm not going to lie. And Dayo's like, ooh, I don't know, bro. You sure you can manage people? And I will say this, right? This event wouldn't be possible without our event producer, Parker, who is my friend. Shout out to Parker. He did so much in the preparation of this. And I feel like this is the first time where I've worked with somebody that truly understood the vision, but also put in the energy to be like, you know what? We're going to get this event going no matter what it takes, whether it's sleepless nights or whatever. And I think those are the type of people that you have to look for when it comes to delegating out work. You can go to any platform online and be like, oh, I'm looking for a video editor. But I guarantee you, you're probably not going to like their style, probably not going to agree with their budget. And then that synergy's kind of off. So it's a double-edged sword because things should come organically, but at the same time, that pressure constantly stacks up more and more. What I will say to the point of how do you stay consistent on all of these platforms? Consistency can look different for everybody. It doesn't have to be upload every single day, 7 days a week. How many movies do we get from Spielberg a year? He doesn't put out a movie for like every 4 years, I feel like. How can you pull content that you already shot that's archived and repurpose it? Because we all have archives. How many times have you seen Family Guy, Simpsons, Friends run on TV and different streaming platforms? It's the same thing. If we can develop content that's powerful and timeless and evergreen, that content can be living on forever and ever. But when it does come to delegating, I do think you should take your time and really building a relationship with that person and making sure that they see your vision, because that's really important. If they don't see the vision, don't waste your time. Don't waste your money, because it's going to be a pain in the ass. You're going to waste a lot of time. You're going to have to teach somebody over and over again until you get it. I've been doing this for a long time, and I still don't have an editor. I don't have anybody that shoots my content, you know? I have my fiance, who I'm really grateful for, who's been there helping me out, and we help each other out. But I know that that's something that's rare to come across. Even if it's a friend, somebody here probably needs help shooting content that you get along with. So
one thing that I think is we all thought, what I thought was, I need all these people to believe in me for me to be successful or to get an opportunity. Do you guys know how many people need to believe in you to give you an opportunity that will change your life? One. So we got to stop thinking, I got to convince all these people. Just one. Just keep consistent, whatever consistent is to you. And that one person will come if you're doing good work and being yourself.
I wanted to hop in here real quick. I wanted to say, hey, I completely agree with what you just said. And also, I think it's amazing the way that you spoke about the power of delegation. I also wanted to ask you, when it comes to delegation, are you also talking about like management? Yeah, for sure. It sounds like possibly delegating to a virtual assistant would be a really good idea. Also, checking out and reevaluating your team. I think it's just like with work in the corporate world. You always want to reevaluate. Am I enjoying the place that I'm at? Am I enjoying the team that I'm with and the management company that I'm signed to? Are they providing for me? So if you feel like, not to say that, but I'll just say, if you feel like you could be getting some more out of your management company, at the end of the day, they are getting a cut of what you're producing, then, it's okay. It's always okay to seek that.
So my name is Pretty Papes. I'm a hip hop artist, community builder, and then also right now I'm in school for digital marketing. And I do have, I have a song right now that's actually trending on TikTok, right? But I consider myself an entry-level content creator. And I even wrote this down on the car right over here. I just wanted to know, like, in your opinion, because I've had trouble, even though the song is trending, like me as a brand is not trending. I've even like commented on every single one, and then like there'll be like kids commenting underneath like, this is not your song. Like, there's no way this is you. You know what I'm saying? Like, and then so I'm just trying to figure out like, okay, what is the most important factor in your opinion when it comes to creating an emotional connection with your customers and fans? And like how can I leverage the fact that this song is trending, leverage back to my personal brand? Because it's crazy because it's been posted by a lot of sports syndicates, a lot of workout, like it's been posted by NBA, NFL, and all these different things. And I'm like, sitting here, I consider myself an entry-level content creator, and I'm like, okay, how do I capitalize on this? And I don't want to be like on the like, oh, I missed the bus type thing. You know what I mean?
It's something that came to mind when you were speaking, but you guys know that song with the two girls where they're like, I'm about to sin again. And we've just seen it done and overdone, but they created like, I think they did a great job of capitalizing off their moment, right? Because they created so much content that people kept seeing that allowed that song to like have its own legs and to live on. And then we started to recognize who they were just because of so much content they put out in the world. Even like I saw Missy, pay them homage on Twitter, like, but they just kept working it. It's kind of like with music, how like you drop a single and you work that single and you work it until like people are tired of hearing it, but the radio's still playing it. It's the same concept like from back in the day. So I think it's about really like thinking about, okay, where is your song showing up? Like you said, in the sports arena. So is there ways that maybe you can even take that content that people are creating and reposting it? Is it ways that you can kind of like just replicate your model and just keep it more visible and keep it going and going and going and going until you get tired of it, right? But I think it's taking a page out of music from back in the day. And that's, your wheelhouse. So you probably have some more about that too.
A song it becomes a hit on the radio, right? Like artists now, you got to get a follow-up, right? And I think without putting too much pressure on yourself to create a follow-up trending, viral song, I think to what Jazz was saying is continue creating content and music around that same style, that same genre, and people will find you. Eventually, people will start tagging you. Oh, yo, this is, so-and-so. What's her name? Pretty Papes? Dope. I love that. Best looking rapper on earth, he said. I like that. And I would just say continue being consistent with your content, man, and also just cross-pollinate your content. So if you are trending on TikTok, make sure that you're posting on Instagram too, and every social media platform that you may have.
You want to know what independent artists don't have that record labels and big movie production houses have? Is distribution. So if you have something that goes big, odds are if it's a new artist or old artist, they have some type of press. And what that press does is it amplifies what's really going on. And it's those top tier media companies, individuals, like you said, sports people post it, right? That's one step to it. But if you can go further and get the top people on that platform or even get the news involved, then you'll have a lot more distribution and a lot more people going, yeah, that's right. What is that? Because I could probably count enough songs that have went viral from the pandemic up until now that have made everyday people who said, I'm going to upload this video to TikTok and it becomes this viral trend, to now they are very successful music artists. So I would say you really have to live in the trenches and say, this is my chance. This is the only shot that I have. What am I gonna do? Because we really have to think that there's a fire in our kitchen. If you saw a fire in your kitchen, you're gonna put the thing out. You're not just gonna stare at it. So when you have a viral moment, you gotta keep going at it, trying to, find a solution to that. We really appreciate everybody's time. Thank you guys so much, appreciate you. Give a round of applause for our amazing panel.
And ladies and gentlemen, give it up for Dontae! For putting this amazing event together.
Where can everybody find you?
At Mando Fresko, Mando Fresko, Mando Fresko.
You can find me at Curious Chase on Instagram. And you can chat with me after. I'll give you my email. I'm always reachable.
And you can find me on TikTok at The Real Dayo and Instagram at The Real DDYO since someone stole the A in my at name.
Appreciate you guys. Enjoy the rest of the night. Please, if you didn't get a massage, get a massage. Check out Catlett to learn some game, get a drink, go to the bar, grab some food. DJ Casanova, drop that beat.